The ember glows, and fragrant tendrils curl upward like serpents of emerald smoke, coiling around the threshold of your mind. In that flicker-lit moment, reality thins, and another realm, half-remembered, half-imagined, whispers your forgotten name. Tell me, traveler, have you ever wondered what secret door marijuana truly unlocks within the labyrinth of consciousness? Share your own encounters below, and if this journey stirs your spirit, tap the like. It guides others to this hidden path. You breathe in, and the night seems to pulse with an ancient rhythm, a heartbeat older than the stars. A hush settles. Even the crickets pause, sensing that the veil is about to lift. The taste upon your tongue is earthy, tinged with wild forest and distant thunder, as though the plant carries weather from another world. You feel the world tilt, not violently, but with the gentle authority of an unseen hand, reminding you that gravity itself is merely a suggestion. In that tilt, you glimpse patterns, glowing webs connecting leaf to moon, memory to prophecy, silence to song. Your skin tingles as if the air has grown feathers. You become acutely aware of your own breath. Each inhale a wave washing secrets onto the shore of awareness. Each exhale a receding tide that drags old fears back into the depths. This is not escapism. It is an invitation to step behind the curtain of familiar thought and taste, the raw nectar of hidden truth. Yet a tremor of uncertainty shivers through you. Is this doorway merely chemical illusion, or a bona fide portal to esoteric wisdom? You recall hushed warnings and half-smiled endorsements, conflicting myths tangled like vines around the same root. Still, the plant waits with priest-like patience, as though murmuring arcana vera, the true mysteries, if only you dare to listen. You close your eyes and see colors woven into sound, hear the prickling of light against your eyelids. Somewhere between heartbeat and echo, time loosens its grip. Minutes stretch like molten gold, forming corridors where memories stroll unhurried, hand in hand with unborn dreams. In this elastic twilight, mythic wisdom ceases to be legend and becomes lived sensation, ancestral and immediate. Questions bloom. Does marijuana merely paint illusions upon the canvas of perception, or does it strip perception down to its naked bones? Can a single breath of plant spirit slide open the ancient mystery that sages sought beneath desert suns and monsoon skies? The smoke lingers, a slow-dancing oracle, and you sense that if you follow its spirals inward, you might uncover that most elusive jewel: spiritual awakening. A soft inner voice, sounding uncannily like your own yet older, intones, "Tat tvam asi." You're that. The boundaries between self and cosmos blur, like ink dissolving in water, until identity becomes a fluid constellation. You realize that hidden knowledge is not something stashed in dusty tomes, but something exhaled with every conscious breath. Weed, it seems, is less a substance than a cipher, a green-veined key whispered into human hands by a patient earth. The ember dims, but its afterglow etches a final sigil on your mind's inner walls, a reminder that thresholds exist not to be admired but crossed. And so our tale begins, right where your heartbeat sinks with the hush of leaves, ready to step deeper into the story where plant and spirit meet in luminous secrecy, and the next chapter waits beyond this fragrant smoke. Historical philosophy context. Beyond this fragrant smoke, the next chapter waits. And so you step into the river of stories that has carried cannabis through millennia, its currents swirling with legend and doctrine alike. Long before neon dispensaries and laboratory terpenes, nomads in the Hindu Kush watched tall, serrated leaves shimmer beneath high mountain suns. They called the plant bhang and mixed it with milk and spices, offering it to Shiva, lord of dissolution and rebirth, whose wild matted hair is said to drip ambrosial ganja nectar upon the world. In those rites, intoxication was not indulgence but sacrament, a rehearsal for the cosmic dance where ego vaporizes and consciousness unfurls like a 1,000-petaled lotus. Follow the Silk Road westward, and you'll find Scythian shamans sealing themselves inside felt huts, stones glowing red with fire, hemp seeds crackling on embers. Herodotus records their cries of ecstasy as the fragrant vapor rose. Warriors transformed into dream speakers, consulting spirits for counsel before riding into battle. To them, the smoke was a bridal veil between flesh and phantasm, a medium through which hidden truth revealed strategies no mere arrow could pierce. Travel south to ancient Egypt, where Eber's papyrus whispers of Shemshemet salves soothing pain and invoking visions that guided priest-physicians in dream diagnosis. Here, marijuana joined myrrh and frankincense on temple altars, the trio weaving a perfumed ladder for souls to climb during rites of Osiris, god of green resurrection. The hemp fiber that bound mummies was more than rope. It symbolized woven continuity between earthly husk and star-bound Ka. In the Taoist peaks of China's Han Dynasty, mystic alchemists simmered cannabis flowers with ginseng and cinnamon, sipping elixirs pledged to open the jade gates of perception. Pharmacist sage Hua Tuo used the plant's resin with wine to anesthetize the body so the spirit might glide freely, practicing surgeries of both flesh and fate. Later, Zen monks in Japan inhaled its gentle hush before dawn meditation, believing it stilled the monkey mind enough for Satori's lightning to strike clean. Turn the compass to the Islamic Golden Age, where Sufis in medieval Persia spoke of Hashishiyah as the green advisor. In candle-lit zawiyas, they recited ecstatic poetry, the smoke braiding with verses of Rumi, each stanza a step in the inward whirling dance toward divine beloved. While jurists debated its legality, mystics weighed a subtler law. If a leaf lifts the veil to God, who dares forbid the wind? Europe's scholars, swayed by Enlightenment empiricism, dismissed such ecstasies as superstition. Yet romantic poets like Baudelaire sipped hashish-infused coffee, chasing artificial paradises where color and emotion shattered into prismatic revelation. Even Queen Victoria's physician extolled cannabis tincture for easing menstrual pain, hinting that the plant's medicine could cradle both womb and psyche, body and mythic wisdom alike. Across oceans, indigenous healers of the Americas encountered hemp anew through colonial trade, grafting it onto existing plant ceremonies. Curanderos in Mexico blended it with copal incense. Rastafari in Jamaica crowned it holy herb, citing Psalm 104. He causeth the grass to grow for cattle, and herb for the service of man. Their sacred chalice smoke carried prayers of emancipation, asserting that spiritual awakening is inseparable from liberation of the oppressed. Yet alongside reverence, shadows gathered. Colonial powers criminalized the plant when it empowered voices they sought to silence. Propaganda painted marijuana as madness, severing modern seekers from ancient mystery. Still, underground lineages kept the ember alive, passing joints like clandestine scrolls inscribed with the mantra, "Consciousness cannot be outlawed." Thus, threaded through scroll and song, temple and trench, we witness a pattern, weed appearing at the crossroads where society questions its own reflection. Whether worshipped as divine gift or demonized as deviant weed, it mirrors our era's stance toward hidden knowledge. Will we inhale and integrate, or exhale in fear and forget? This river of stories flows into the present moment, pooling at your feet. The plant that touched pharaohs, yogis, and wandering poets now waits in your palm, still humming with ancestral dream. And so we arrive at the heart of our exploration, where myth meets mind and an ancient parable unfolds to illuminate how marijuana might truly serve the seeker in the labyrinth within. Where myth meets mind, an ancient parable unfolds, guiding you deeper into the labyrinth within. Imagine a nameless sage wandering the desert at twilight, clutching a single seed in his calloused palm. He kneels beside a forgotten well, its water long since vanished, and plants the seed in dust before walking away beneath a vault of burning stars. For 40 years the seed lies dormant, cradled by silence and moon-cold sand. Then, on the night the sage returns to breathe his last breath, a green shoot pierces the earth, unbidden, unstoppable. Village elders gather, astonished, as the barren place erupts into fragrant bloom overnight. In that miraculous garden they find the sage's cloak draped across a stone. On its faded fabric he has written only 3 words: Arcanum est patientia. The mystery is patience. You sit with this parable as thick smoke coils around your thoughts. The seed, the desert, the relentless stars, each mirrors a chamber inside your own psyche. The dormant seed is your latent potential, those hidden faculties of consciousness sleeping beneath layers of habit and fear. The desert symbolizes the mind's apparent barrenness, where routine thought tracks and exhausting doubts leave the soil cracked. And the sage? He is the still eternal witness within you, content to wait until conditions ripen for awakening. Marijuana, in this framing, becomes the subtle rain, an unexpected catalyst that awakens the seed when the time is right. Feel the plant's chemistry mingling with your biology, cannabinoids nesting into neural receptors like keys sliding into ancient locks. As THC meets the CB1 gatekeeper, a slow voltage of possibility hums through synapses. Default mode chatter softens. The ego's security guard pulls back from its post, allowing dream figures and buried memories to roam the corridors of cognition. Sensory doors creak open wider. Colors bruise into richer hues. Sounds shimmer with microtones you never noticed. The simplest breath expands into a cathedral of scent and sensation. Weed does not plant the seed. Rather, it moistens the parched mind soil so that what already sleeps inside you might stir. But how does this awakening truly happen? Picture your consciousness as a woven tapestry, each thread a belief interlaced with memories and expectations. Normally the weave is so tight you cannot slip a fingertip between strands. Under marijuana's spell, the threads loosen just enough for light to seep through. You catch glimpses of patterns on the warp and weft, hidden truth about why a childhood sorrow still tugs at your choices, or how a long-cherished dream can be rewoven into present action. The ancient parable teaches that illumination rarely arrives as thunderbolt. More often it germinates quietly, like a sprout pushing against sand, until dawn reveals its first tender leaf. Listen closely. The whisper you hear in that liminal state is the voice of mythic wisdom, older than language, yet speaking in images your heart instantly understands. Perhaps you see the wellstone from the story, its surface engraved with constellations of possibilities. You might sense the sage's cloak settling across your shoulders, conferring permission to be both seeker and soil. You realize the miracle was never about instant bloom, but about unseen resilience, the seed keeping faith with rainfall not yet born. When you exhale, the parable breathes with you, syncing its rhythm to your own, plant, human, cosmos, pulsing in quiet unison. Still, this desert garden metaphor cautions against mistaking rain for root. If you water sand without seed, the moisture evaporates, leaving nothing changed. Similarly, if you partake of cannabis merely to escape discomfort, you may find only mirage. The plant amplifies what already resides within. It cannot conjure meaning from a void. To engage marijuana as spiritual ally, you must first acknowledge the seeds you carry, the questions that gnaw at 3 a.m., the creative spark suffocated by routine, the long-buried grief waiting for ritual release. The sage planted with intention. His patience primed the miracle. So must yours. Now feel the desert night cool against your skin as the story merges with lived sensation. You may sense your heartbeat echoing across dunes, each thump a drum calling forth buried shoots of insight. In this heightened perception, you witness how empty spaces, silence between words, black sky between stars, are brimming with potential energy. The smoke delivers not hallucination, but a magnifying lens for subtle signals. You remember that consciousness itself is vast, and your usual awareness merely skims its surface like a beetle across water. The parable's final lesson unfurls when dawn arrives. Villagers who once saw only sterility now stand awestruck amid lush foliage, shimmering with dewdrops. In their astonishment, they recognize a truth you are invited to embody. When inner seeds sprout, the external landscape transforms accordingly. Your renewed perspective infuses ordinary life with color. Relationships soften. Creative work blossoms. Even the mundane walk to the mailbox hums with quiet wonder. Spiritual awakening is contagious. Your garden invites others to sow their own. Yet recall the cloak on the stone. Those 3 stark words. Arcanum est patientia. The plant may hasten insight, but cannot outrun the cosmic tempo of integration. After the high recedes, you must water the seed with daily presence, lest the bloom wither. The sage's legacy is discipline laced with mystery, a reminder that true growth marries sudden revelation with steady cultivation. As the smoke thins, the parable's imagery lingers like a fragrance on dawn air. You see the seed glowing beneath sand, hear desert winds carrying chants of eons, feel warm rain descending from invisible clouds. The stage is set for another layer of understanding, one rooted not in ancient myth, but in your own modern labyrinth, where boardrooms replace dunes and smartphone screens eclipse star vaults. And there, too, the plant waits, eager to show how its green whisper can reconfigure the circuitry of everyday life, turning sterile corridors into blooming pathways of possibility. Turning sterile corridors into blooming pathways of possibility, you step into a gleaming downtown office tower, the modern labyrinth where fluorescent suns outshine the stars, and time is measured not by moon phases, but by relentless calendar alerts. You arrive before dawn, shoulders tight with unspoken anxieties, to find the marketing war room already buzzing. Holographic charts float mid-air, AI dashboards stream metrics like prophetic rivers of numbers. A major product launch looms, and every breath seems audited by invisible auditors. You glance at your watch. 8 hours of meetings ahead, each promising to devour a piece of your spirit. At lunch, you slip away to the rooftop garden, a small oasis clinging to concrete heights. There, concealed behind bamboo planters, you pull a slim vaporizer from your pocket, inhale, and let the cannabinoid mist spiral inward. What follows is not a descent into lethargy, but a widening of perceptual aperture. Colors sharpen. The corporate skyline becomes a canyon of chrome cliffs kissed by sunrise. The hum of HVAC units morphs into a droning mantra. You detect an intricate rhythm underneath the buzz of circuitry, as if the building itself breathes in ancient mystery. Suddenly, you see the launch strategy with X-ray clarity. Numbers reorganize into constellations. Disconnected departments align like planets in synodic harmony. You jot a note. We aren't selling features. We're selling liberation from digital clutter. A playful grin flickers across your face, and for the first time in months, your heartbeat and the project's pulse sync. Weed, in this crucible, doesn't sedate. It reveals hidden knowledge by loosening the screws of habitual perception, allowing dormant creativity to flower in hostile soil. Yet this is no private epiphany bubble. Returning to the boardroom, you speak with a new cadence, slower but sharper, words textured by mythic wisdom gleaned moments ago. Colleagues lean in, drawn by a freshness they can't name. They watch metrics become metaphors. A dull KPI morphs into a hero's quest to rescue users from information labyrinths. You're not evangelizing about cannabis. You're channeling insights it helped surface. The room inhales your calm, exhales their tension. Spiritual awakening ripples through corporate armor like grass-breaking asphalt. Hours later, crisis strikes. A server breach threatens the entire launch. Panic surges, but under marijuana's lingering spaciousness, you remain anchored, breathing through uncertainty like a yogi in storm pose. You recall the desert parable's patience. You let seconds stretch wide enough to hold paradox. In that pliant interval, a solution emerges. Reroute through a backup node. Inform customers with transparent humility. Turn vulnerability into trust. The team executes, disaster averted, and the launch proceeds with unexpected grace. After sunset, you walk home through city streets shimmering with neon rain. The high has faded, yet its afterglow endures as a subtle openness. You notice a homeless man playing violin under a flickering street lamp. His music pierces skyscraper canyons and finds the soft animal of your heart. You drop a bill into his case, and for a moment your eyes meet. Two wandering sages recognizing seed and desert in each other. Hidden truth settles. Every interaction is sacred ground when consciousness is awake. Still, you wonder, is reliance on weed a crutch? The plant answers from some inner chamber. I am not the destination, only a guide. Without your own discipline, I merely perfume upon barren soil. You remember the sage's cloak and decide to integrate, not idolize. Tomorrow you'll journal, meditate, and shape routines that keep the rooftop spaciousness alive, even on days you abstain. Cannabis showed the door. Now you must walk through on steady feet. Weeks pass. The product launch becomes company lore, praised for its empathetic ethos. You receive a promotion, but more importantly, you feel lighter, less fused to the hamster wheel, more curious about the unseen tides that shape collective endeavors. Colleagues seek your counsel. You share breathing techniques rather than vaporizers, respecting their own paths to awakening. The building's fluorescent suns no longer eclipse the stars. Instead, they remind you that light takes many forms, each pointing back to the same cosmic kiln. Thus, marijuana's role in modern life mirrors the ancient parable. It moistens the mind soil, awakens seeds of insight, then challenges you to cultivate them through deliberate action. It is neither panacea nor peril, but a mirror reflecting your readiness to transform mundane corridors into gardens of possibility. And just as the sage's desert burst into verdure, so too can your daily grind bloom when consciousness chooses to see the sacred woven through spreadsheets and deadlines. As night deepens, you stand by your window, city lights shimmering like constellations trapped in glass. You whisper a Latin echo, lux interior, inner light, thanking the plant for its gentle nudge. But the real gratitude flows toward the awakened agency inside you, the part that will rise tomorrow with clear eyes and patient heart, knowing that true power lies not in the substance, but in the consciousness it helps reveal. The stage is now set to translate these revelations into tangible practice, where ritual, breath, and pen will root the blossoms of insight into the rich soil of embodiment. Into the rich soil of embodiment, you kneel, ready to anchor revelation in the everyday. First, gather the tools. A quiet night, a small dose of cannabis no larger than a thumbnail fragment, a notebook, and a single candle. As twilight melts into indigo, light the flame and inhale once, allowing the smoke to settle like dew upon your senses. Feel warmth unfurl across your chest as the plant's gentle tide lifts you into a soft plateau of awareness. This is the threshold of our first practice. Step 1. The luminous breath. Close your eyes and imagine each inhale as liquid starlight flowing down your spine, pooling at the base like molten silver. Hold for 3 heartbeats. On the exhale, visualize that light expanding through your ribs, washing away stale thoughts. Repeat for 12 cycles, anchoring the mantra, hidden truth in, old shadows out. You will notice the mind grows spacious, the body supple. Weed's chemistry acts as subtle amplifier, turning each breath into a bell that rings you into deeper presence. Complete the 12th exhale, then sit in the silence you have carved. Notice how even city noise now feels orchestral, inviting, alive. Step 2. The seed scroll journaling. With senses heightened, open your notebook and without censorship, write the first image, phrase, or memory that surfaces. It may be mundane, a childhood kitchen, a forgotten song, or profound, like a sudden vision of cosmic lattice work. Do not judge, simply follow the thread for 10 uninterrupted minutes. When the timer chimes, reread what emerged and underline one sentence that hums with latent energy. Above it, draw a tiny seed symbol. This singled-out line is your desert seed, a clue from subconscious depths revealed by cannabis's illuminating rain. Commit to revisiting it each dawn for 7 days, watering it with further reflection until its meaning sprouts action. Step 3. The night orchard ritual. 1 hour before sleep, abstain from further cannabis, dim the lights, and revisit your underlined sentence. Speak it aloud 3 times while standing barefoot, feeling the floor's cool honesty. Next, visualize planting that sentence in an orchard under new moon sky. Imagine rain descending, each droplet a word of encouragement. Spiritual awakening, esoteric wisdom, mythic wisdom. See the seed swell, roots gripping dark soil, a sapling stretching toward unseen stars. As you slip into bed, ask your dreaming mind to tend this sapling. Upon waking, note any dream fragments. They are morning dew, nourishing insight. Repeat nightly for 7 cycles, observing how intention, combined with the plant's earlier spark, matures into embodied change. These steps are deliberately simple, yet potent. The luminous breath cleans the vessel. Seed scroll journaling reveals what lies within. Night orchard ritual entrusts that revelation to subconscious cultivation. When practiced in sequence, they transform fleeting high into rooted growth, ensuring marijuana serves not as escape, but as ally. Remember, the sage's desert burst into bloom because patient tending followed miraculous rain. So too must you weave discipline through moments of wonder. Integrate these practices with reverence. If at any time the plant feels less like gentle rain and more like storm, lower the dose or pause entirely. Your inner gardener must remain sovereign. Over weeks, you'll notice subtle shifts. Conversations deepen, creativity quickens, stress loses its teeth. You may even find that on some nights, breathing alone evokes the same spaciousness once sparked by smoke. Proof that consciousness has learned the scent of its own garden. Now the candle burns low, its wax a quiet witness to promises made. Snuff the flame with gratitude, pocket your notebook, and step into the cool night air. A faint aroma of resin still lingers, but what truly perfumes the darkness is your intention, vibrating like a song at the edge of hearing. You have planted, watered, and entrusted. Soon the first shoots will pierce the soil of habit, eager for dawn. Eager for dawn. The first shoots pierce the soil of habit, glistening with promise beneath a sky still inked with fading stars. Remember that ember at the very beginning, the fragrant tendril of emerald smoke coiling into the dark, beckoning you beyond the ordinary. Its glow returns now as a glowing sigil in your chest, pulsing with every breath, reminding you that the doorway to hidden knowledge was never in the plant alone, but in the courageous curiosity that led you to inhale. You walk through early morning streets, candle scent still ghosting your fingertips, and notice how the world seems newly etched. Traffic lights flicker like guardian beacons. A stray cat's eyes flash like tiny constellations. Even the hum of distant engines resonates as if tuned to some cosmic chord. Weed's chemical whisper has quieted, yet the symphony of consciousness continues, revealing that spiritual awakening is less an event and more an unfolding melody you can choose to hear. In this hush, you ask yourself, will you dare to keep cultivating the orchard when the rain is scarce and the desert winds return? Will you dare to sit with seed and silence, trusting the patient rhythm of growth even when no bloom is visible? The plant offered a glimpse. Integration is now your pilgrimage. Luck's interior glows steady within, urging you to weave mythic wisdom into work emails, grocery aisles, subway tunnels, until every moment rings with esoteric wisdom that once seemed reserved for mountaintop hermits. So take one final inhale of crisp dawn air, tasting hints of cedar and distant oceans carried on spring breeze. Exhale slowly, watching vapor swirl like ghost ink before it vanishes. Let that vanishing remind you that consciousness itself is the canvas, forever repainting hidden truth in colors you become brave enough to see. May your footsteps echo the sage's patient wisdom in the rooftop epiphanies of chrome canyons alike, until seed and bloom, desert and garden, myth and Monday morning blend into a single living scripture. The ember dims, but its legacy endures wherever you breathe with intention. Go forth, keeper of the green key, and tend the unseen, until the ordinary world flowers with mystery, and the mystery feels as intimate as your next heartbeat.